Welcome back. You're still watching Daybreak on Trust TV. Now, it's easier show as we are on today's phone-in segment. So today we're addressing what might be one of the most controversial topics to sweep through our national conversation in recent times. The paternity test report that has everyone talking and worrying. If you've been following the news on social media, you've likely seen the startling headlines claiming that 25% of Nigerian men are not the biological fathers of their children, and that 1 in 4 paternity tests reveal non-biological fathers. Now, this report has sparked intense debate, anger, confusion, and anxiety in homes across the country. But today, we're going to look beyond the headlines and ask a critical question. Is this data being misinterpreted? We want to hear from you. Have you considered a paternity test? What are your concerns about trust and transparency in relationships? Now you can call us on the numbers displayed on your screen. You can also send WhatsApp messages on the same number displayed on your screen. So how are these the issues? Paternity fraud.
You know, when I first saw the statistics that 25% of all fathers attested proven not to be the biological fathers of those children, and it's predominantly mostly first sons that have been tested that are proven not to be children of those fathers. And when you look at that, you ask what is happening in our society, and you ask what is what has the fiber of our morals turn into here in Nigeria, I would say. And to be honest, you would hear a lot of these things, from elsewhere. In the West, you would hear, things going on like that.
It's worldwide.
Absolutely. All right, let's take our first caller and let's hear from them. Hello, good morning, and thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning, ladies. How are you today?
We're doing fine.
We're fine, thank you.
All right, what is your take on this issue?
This is Ade calling from London.
All right, good morning, Ade. Thank you for joining us.
Yes. When they say 1 in 4, I think it should be 1 in 2. Because this is very rampant these days. And I know someone that trained 4 children to university level, and when he was about to bring them to UK here, the embassy has to do DNA. Thank God for the embassy of US and UK. They introduced this thing. All the 4 children, none belong to him. And he has trained them to university level. The guy nearly run mad in UK here. You see, we have to talk to his younger person, we have to talk to him. So he was angry. He has to go and marry 2 wives at the same time, newly, in order to get children. But that trauma is there, because he can't claim somebody's children, and the wife has to be begging. So this thing is very common. I don't know why it's like that in Africa, So it's all Africa. When people, I think my advice to Nigeria is that even though you are not traveling out, go for paternity DNA, all your children, just to guarantee you are not leaving your will. You are not making your will, your property to a bastard child. So go and do your DNA. Once you do your DNA of your children, then you will know which one that belongs to you and which one doesn't belong to you. If not for the embassies in Nigeria, the UK and the UK High Commission and American Embassy that go through DNA, many people will not know. They'll just bring wrong person to oversee and thinking is their children. So I advise Nigerian men to do that. And I want the federal government to make it free of charge, so people can know whether this is their biological child or not. So that's my own. And with all due respect, this is common in the southern where I belong to. So southern part of Nigeria. So they should go and do DNA is better. So that's my advice. Good morning. God bless Nigeria.
All right, thank you very much, Ade, for that. And when it came to the report, statistics showed that majority of the men that did the testing were above 40.
Yeah.
And then aside from that, the emotional trauma that goes on, and majorly due to the fact that these embassies and countries ask for DNA testing so that they can ascertain the paternity of a child, that in itself has increased.
that's
amount.
number one stuff that increased.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. We have another caller on the line. Hello, good morning, and thank you for joining us this morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. What is your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Tijoka. I'm calling from Suka.
Good morning, Chijoki. Thank you for calling. All right, go ahead with your thoughts.
Well, my thoughts about this issue is, we like banding figures, and unfortunately, we don't do due diligence in like things concerning statistics and census. So for anybody to say that 1 in out of 4 or 1 in out of 2, is likely not to be the biological son of a father, I mean, is subject to interrogation, because I don't think those statistics are by any means scientific. Because you look at the sample population before you begin to come up with a definite statement about the percentage of non-biological children. That is one. But then, coming to the reality, there are pockets of issues as being reported either on the social media or in the mainstream media and stuff like that. But the fact that we have a prevalence does not mean that we can now say that 1 out of 25%. I mean, that is a crazy statistics. But then, what we also look at, what influences this? Most times, the problem is with the men. Some of them are impotent. Some of them, but they wouldn't want to go for medical tests because they will always want to put or pin the blame on the woman, which is invariably wrong. And for the woman to secure her marriage may look beyond the husband to make sure that she raises children and stuff like that. Because without kids, most marriages, you are not sure. You can't say your marriage is secured without having kids, with all the pressures from in-laws, from your parents' side and stuff like that. So it's neither here nor there. But the thing is that there is no point really for somebody that calls you father or calls you mother. Maybe when the person is grown, you begin to question the faithfulness of the other party, your spouse and all that. They begin to do DNS, to begin to cause confusion and traumatize the children and stuff like that. I don't really see the essence. I mean, it doesn't really make sense. Children are given by God, and even though the morality aspect of it, having to cheat on your spouse to have these babies is well, that one is another discussion for another day. But like you highlighted during your introduction, that most first child most times is expected because most of these ladies you marry, they are not virgins. They have been into relationships before getting married. Before getting married to you, and anything is possible. So that's the way I look at it. So we have to do due diligence. The bottom line is that we have to be sure of statistics we dole out, to the public. That is just my own take on it. So let's stop making sweeping statements that 1 out of 2 or 1 out of 4 or 1 out of 4, is not.
All right, thank you very much, Chijoke, for your thoughts and opinions. As I said, everyone has his own opinion, and it is very important to express it. Well, according to the statistics, Lagos was mostly, because it's a Lagos-based, DNA testing center.
DNA
exactly.
Center.
So it's the statistic pool, or should I say the study pool, is mostly from Lagos State, and from 2024 to 2025, that is when they tested, and they saw that 25% of or what do you call it, fathers that have been tested have been proven not to be those fathers. And we cannot argue with figures that have been given and presented as evidence. All right, we have another caller on the line. Hello, good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Hello, good morning. Can you please tune down the volume of your TV?
Okay, sir, I want to disagree with the last speaker.
Okay,
All
go
right,
ahead.
what is your
What's
name
your
and
name
where
and
are
where
you
you're
calling
calling from?
My name is Godwin, coming from
All right, could you please speak up so we can hear you clearly?
maybe the network.
All right, go ahead.
So, I want to disagree with the last speaker about his emphasis and disagreeing with his statistics.
All right, go ahead.
The statistics given does not necessarily mean that in every home of 4 children, one is not for the parent. But it's a total, it's an average taking about the, from the percentage. They are not talking about that in every home, but generally that in every home, I mean in the society, it is common that it's a common behavior. So what that man has said is not totally true. And then again too, what he has said about women going outside their matrimonial home to see for children, it's not also good, because when your husband is impotent, it does not mean that you have to go and look for a child from outside and then give to your husband. There are so many homes that don't have that the husbands are impotent. They don't have a child, but they remain to consider God until God is able to give them a child before they have. So most wives, it's a common behavior among our women. They go outside their homes to look for children. So this has exposed them, and I encourage every home to go for this DNA test, because it is becoming, we have a lot of bastard children in our society, and the behavior does not tally with the homes or the parents they claim to belong to. So that last speaker has not stated exactly what is happening in society. The statistics is not saying that every home, 4 children, one is not for the. There are some homes that the whole children are for the parents, but it is common amongst our home now that most wives go outside their matrimonial house to look for children. Thank you.
Thank you very
All
much.
right, thank you very much for that. As I said, everyone has their own perspective when it comes to it, but then the statistics is the statistics, and when it comes to that, an actual survey has to be done for it to be out there, and it has to be credible as well.
You know, one thing, Hauwa, this paternity fraud has a very huge psychological effect on.
Absolutely.
You know, before I continue, we have a caller. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Tony from Benue State.
Okay,
Good
go
morning,
ahead.
Tony. Thank you for joining us. What is your take on this issue?
Well, this is where civilization has landed. I'm not arguing because the rate things is going in the world today that Africa is following the trend. And I can't doubt if such a situation is understand. But this is where civilization has. During this time that we maintain our culture, are we having such things? In the right time that we need to embrace our culture, because our culture, if you look at the Bible that we're using as a system, most of the things that Africans forbid is there in the Bible. So is the time that we'll be going back to our culture to see some certain things as a forbidden, some certain things that is trending in the world today. Let us maintain our culture and see that there is some certain things that trend that is against us here. That is where I will stop. I can't argue whether it is a reality or not, because according to how globally is going today, everything is possible. Every bad thing, things that are happening in the world, that ugly things. Especially when you go to internet, Facebook and TikTok and everything. So certain things that will tell them that it's quite unfortunate. Good morning.
All right, thank you very much, Tony Eze. Maryam, you're about to make a point before we got a caller.
Yeah, we're talking about the psychological effect it has on these fathers. You know, you can imagine a 45, 50-year-old man finally realizing that 4 kids he trained to university or maybe married off, are not his kids. That's going to have a very huge effect on him that cannot leave him till forever, So,
Right, but we have to still understand that when it comes to DNA testing, not only men do initiate, DNA testing, but then at the end of the day, they are the majority, they're the highest number when it comes to it. About 88.2% of all paternity tests were initiated by men, and only 11.8% coming from women. One thing I want to highlight is, even though that there is a high number of, tests that prove the fathers are not the fathers, there are situations where you would see that when it comes to the testing as well, the mothers are not as well. But then we'll dive right into
talking
that.
about maternity fraud, we'll come back about this. Yeah.
All right, so let's take our next caller. Hello, good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Shatima.
Good morning,
Good morning, Shatima. How is Maiduguri today?
Maiduguri, alhamdulillah, Maiduguri is cool. We thank God.
Okay, go ahead. What's your take on this topic today?
Well, honestly speaking, you see, we should let the sleeping dogs lie. Why did I say so? Because it was only the mother, not the biological father of her child. Once you are in matrimonial home, whatever given to you, you must accept. Why? Because you have been legally married to that woman. All this scientific investigation, to me, it will create more problems to our matrimonial family. So, the way God created things, we should leave it like that. Why did I say so? Because you see, a child sometimes will take the biological genetic of his grandfather. What are you going to do? It was God that created that. What are you going to do? So it's for you to just accept whatever they give it to you. But because you should make sure that you are honest and you are sincere to your partner. And whatever you will do, I'm advising the fathers. You should try and inculcate the God fearing in the mind of your partner and give her trust. Just leave the other things to God. Because all these things that the modern technology, investigation, blah, 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 it will not help us. It will not help us. Because truly, if you are married, legally married to a woman, give her trust. Try and put God fearing in her mind, as I said earlier. Trust her and allow her. But too much investigation, blah, blah, and this, it will create more problems. It will not solve problems. Any court that you go, provided you have been married, legally married to that woman, any child that she gives birth to you is your own child. Even in the even in the divine law, it's like that. Talk less of man-made law. Provided you have married to her legally, you are still with her under one roof. Whatever she gives birth to is your own child. What are you going to do? So we should let the sleeping dogs lie, as I said earlier. You leave things to God. It was only God that will judge. These are the big issues. Sometimes error come about it. You push or you create suspicious on your own legal child. So to me, this is not our custom, and is contrary to to our practicing religion. We should leave things to God. So any cheat that cheated you here in this world, the case will be reversed hereafter. You just leave things to God. You accept your children. Give them whatever training, legal training. Give them the way your parents have brought up to you. You do so to them. So we leave this to God. We are hoping and we are praying. Our mothers and our fathers, they should imbibe the God fearing, and we keep just a happy home and a good partnership. Thank you so much, and have a nice day.
All right, thank you very much,
Shatima.
Shatima, for sharing your thoughts.
So you're talking
Maryam,
about maternity
yes, but
test?
before then, we would have to understand that these kind of issues are realities for a lot of people. And sometimes when there are these kind of discoveries, not everybody went looking for that. Especially, for example, when you see people applying for visa and they're required to perform a DNA testing. That in itself would bring about the result that they might see. And aside from that, there are situations where a child might be sick and they go to the hospital and that child would be needing a blood and they would have to do a testing, and there's nothing in relation with that child. So with all of that, those people would get those discoveries whether they go poking in or not. So at the end of the day, it is really a reality that people are living in. All right, let us take our next caller. Hello, good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Yes,
good morning.
Thank you for joining us. What is your name and where are you calling from?
I'm John, calling from Benue State.
Good morning, John. All right, go ahead with your thoughts.
Yes, thank you very much. You see, to start with, this issue of DNA test, they should not forget two things. One of the things is this. Like, for example, I have an experience last 4 or 5 years ago. How credible the test is, because if you do this DNA test and you go to other places, it will prove other things. Have they checked that what they are doing is the right thing? Because let them not go and cause confusion for families. Just like HIV test, where they will do HIV test and go to another hospital and they prove another thing. So you can see the world we are in now. Credibility of the test they are doing matters a lot. Whether the apparatus they are using is expired or not. Or even if it is not expired, is it currently working? Because you can see you do test in one hospital, you go to other hospital, you find out different results. So that is one. Then number two, I don't want to measure the states. I'm very, very aware of this, that culture is another factor. In some culture in Nigeria here, the moment you marry or you pay the woman bride price, if the woman even go and cheat on you and have pregnancy, become your own. The child become your own. So that is another factor. It's not issue of say women are cheating, blah, blah, blah. Men are cheating, women are cheating, but then the culture differs. So people, we should check all those things, because it's not, we don't have to leave it totally to the DNA test alone. So thank you very much. And what is the full meaning of DNA? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for that, for your contributions. As earlier mentioned, we would understand that there are a lot of things, a lot of factors when it comes to DNA testing. And aside from, the assumption of infidelity, there are situations that happen as well, especially when, as I earlier mentioned, when it comes to maternity as well. A child could be switched at birth, and that in itself could prove that both father and mother are not the parents. But then let's go back to a caller, and he was asking what DNA means. It means deoxyribonucleic acid, abbreviated as DNA, and it is a molecule that carries genetic information for the development and function of an organism. And DNA is made of two linked strands that wind around each other to resemble a twisted ladder, a shape known as double helix. So deoxyribonucleic acid. All right. So when it comes to that, all right, we have another caller on the line. Hello, good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, this is Adamu calling from Group.
Good morning, Abasinkong. All right, go ahead with your thoughts.
Thank you. Hauwa and
Maryam. Good morning.
I won't cause problem for Nigeria because this topic is something that can cause problems in homes. Anyway, it's a very good topic, but I want to, my own take is that sincerely speaking, I've seen where a lot of women have made advances to men. There are cheaters that are women, there are cheaters that are men. And you see, the Bible makes us to understand in Proverbs chapter 30, verse 20. Proverbs 30, 20. A woman will go and devalue herself and then wash up herself and come to the house and pretend as if she has done nothing. A man will also do same, pretending to be nice to the woman and be very honest and faithful, whereas he has done something negative outside. But all this comes to the fact that we don't fear God. If we have the fear of God, we must eschew evil. We must run away from the vices that will not make us to be honest. For instance, my wife should know what I am made of. She must know that I am not a womanizer. She must know my thoughts, what my do's and my likes. Definitely she has to know it. So if you are in a house and you don't know your husband is a cheat, then it's the fault of that woman. Before you get married, these are the things you must do. You must investigate. This is not the time to go and say, my wife is a cheat. Before you get married, you need to investigate who your wife is. I investigated my wife before I got married to her. So I know the kind of person my wife is. If she's a cheat, I will know. If she's not a cheat, I will know. So that is one thing you need to do, or we need to do. Thank you, Hauwa. God bless you. God continue to bless Trust TV. Bless every member of Trust TV, including the telephone receptionist. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Obasekan. You know, Hauwa, there's the data from DNA, this Smart DNA Center paints a very troubling picture of family trust. You know, they're going to this story is going to bring a lot of mistrust between couples, especially because even these people that do not really, you know, sometimes you don't even think of these things, but there's a story right now.
You think it would instigate something and
yes,
infuse,
exactly.
you know, a lot
people
of
will
thoughts.
just go and say, there's a story going viral right now. A lady came out crying that her husband went for DNA test. He tested
all her children
four of the kids, and they were all his. But she is worried now because she doesn't trust her husband. She's rather hurt that her husband do not trust her enough, you know, and that again is another issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we have another caller on the line. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning. All right.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from? Thank you for calling.
This is Moses calling from Daybreak.
Okay, Moses, go ahead. What's your take on this issue?
You see, I see the issue of this DNA test as something that just wants to be completely like a whole. We can go back to when our forefathers get married to a woman, even if the woman leaves her house, he gets something. And if we calculate, if we take from most of the people saying go for DNA test, if we take from them to their own biological father, you saw that man is not even their father. Going on this issue, I think we should just ban the issue of that DNA test of the case. That thing is really sometimes like, even as I'm talking to you now, my wife that I got married, after she that we get back with child, she asked me to come and take that child, so that child belongs to me. I married her with my own money. So any child she gives back, that child belongs. So talking about the DNA, I feel that thing is just very concerning, like nothing more than that. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much for that. So, you know, in Nigeria, some culture do not really bother about DNA testing. and some religions too. When you marry a wife, you marry all of her, and everything she gives
Well,
you.
I would say not necessarily some culture. What I'm trying to say, what I would say is, from the get-go, usually nobody thinks of doing a DNA test when it comes to it. And as you said, some culture do not care if there's a DNA testing or not, because at the end of the day, if that child is there and I've been taking care of that child is automatically mine. But then you would have to look at the psychological and emotional impact of that in itself. A lot of people don't ask for this. Nobody asks for this. When you come and you take care of a child, there was a story I saw that he did not know that child was not his child up until the child was about 30 or 40 years old.
Oh.
So imagine that emotional crush, emotional trauma, psychological impact. Yeah, exactly, absolutely. And then with that, you would ask and look at what is going on, as I earlier mentioned, with the values and the morals of our society, with our culture as well, and especially with, as, should I say, religiously focused, should I say, country with a lot of people being very religious. But then that's neither here nor there. All right, let us look at the WhatsApp messages that we have this morning. The first one we have is from Abdurrahman Amin. He says, "Good morning, Trust team. This paternity fraud issue is a serious matter, but at the same time, it makes one laugh and cry at once. Imagine a man training a child for years, paying school fees, even bragging that Nama carbon copy, only for DNA test to see Oga Abeg shift. The recent reports that up to 25% of men are not the real fathers of the children they're raising are very alarming. The bigger problem here is not just about DNA results, but the breakdown of trust in marriages and relationships. Many men now they look at their children like exam paper. They need to cross-check. It creates suspicion, broken homes, and even depression for some fathers. On the other hand, women also argue that some men abandon responsibilities. The matter is now looking like Nigeria's own version of family politics. In my view, what we need is more openness, better communication between partners, and maybe cheaper access to DNA testing so the truth can be known early instead of late heartbreak. Government and religious leaders should also join in educating people on morality and family values. Because if this paternity fraud trend continues, very soon even babies will start carrying ID cards from birth. Don't mind my language this morning, and God bless Nigeria. All right, thank you very much, Abdurrahman Amin, for your thoughts.
Okay, the next message is from Nandi Bete. It says, these days paternity fraud has become so rampant. This is partly because of the breakdown of our once cherished African values. In those days, like among the Boki people of Cross River State, premarital cohabitation of an intending couple was not just a taboo, but an abomination. Courtship was a basic requirement for marriage, and this was done under the close watch of the two families involved. So this paternity fraud was virtually impossible. Unfortunately, it appears to be on a sharp rise in this generation because we seem to lose our moral bearings. Nandi Bete writes from Oguja.
All right, thank you very much, Nandi Betty, for that. All right, I believe we have another WhatsApp message. This message is from Edward Okumoya, and this is quite a lengthy one. All right, he says, good morning, presenters, and thank you for all your smooth, debatable topics thus far. Paternity fraud is increasingly becoming a serious societal issue in Nigeria, one that cuts across trust, justice, and mental health. According to Smart DNA Nigeria 2025, as many as 1 in 4 disputed paternity tests excludes the presumed father, with firstborns having the highest exclusion rates at 64%. While these figures reflect families already in doubt rather than the entire population, they show a disturbing trend that cannot be ignored. The fallout is devastating across Africa. There are growing reports of men who, upon discovering misattributed paternity, fall into depression, execution, commit suicide, or even harm the children involved. For example, in South Africa 2024, a man killed his 5-year-old son following a paternity revelation, highlighting how this trauma can escalate into violence if not properly addressed. In Nigeria, too, anecdotal evidence points to men abandoning their families, children facing identity crisis, and mothers carrying lifelong stigma. Globally, the data paints a more nuanced picture. While general misattributed paternity rates stand at about 0.5% to 2%, studies confirm that among families where doubt exists, exclusion can limit as high as 20 to 30%, aligning with Nigeria's current revelations. Now, this situation raises urgent questions. Should we consider routine DNA testing at birth to eliminate doubts early, or would this destabilize family bonds and create more mistrust? Is it time for Nigeria to legally classify paternity fraud as both emotional and financial fraud, since it misdirects men's resources, inheritance, and legal responsibilities under false pretenses? How can faith institutions, traditional leaders, and policymakers contribute to reshaping family values, fidelity, and honesty to reduce such cases? Should we not embed mandatory counseling and psychological support alongside DNA testing services to help families cope with results, instead of leaving individuals to deal with the shock alone? In his roundup, he said paternity fraud is more than a private family matter. It is a national issue with legal, financial, and social implications. Addressing it requires a balanced approach, safeguarding children's welfare, protecting fathers from deception, and ensuring mothers are not unduly stigmatized. Nigeria must begin to discuss clear policies, transparent systems, and public awareness so that truth, justice, and compassion guide the way forward. All right, thank you very much, Edward Okumoya. That was quite a bit.
That's quite lengthy, you know. And the last message to take comes from Mubarak Isa Abubakar from Jos. He writes, the statistic and the report does not represent the paternity status of all Nigerian men. They claim that 1 in 4 Nigerian fathers are not biologically fathers is misleading and should be corrected to 1 in 4 men tested. The findings only reflect individuals who sought DNA testing, often due to suspicion, and cannot be generalized to all Nigerian men or families. As Muslims, we do not pursue DNA testing simply because others have, especially when results are negative. Another perspective is, and question to ask, what happens if someone conducts tests and 2 different facilities or at different times and receives conflicting results? You know, that's the case.
All right. Thank you very much, Mubarak.
Yes, thank you,
Abubakar, for that. All right, there are lots of questions to ask. There are lots of things, to dive into, and there are lots of things to be revealed, as we just saw. Thank you very much for calling in and giving us your feedback on this topic. We'll be going on a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue on this issue, and we'll have an expert here to analyze this particular matter. We'll be right back.